top trending anime of spring 2025 season. A modern adaptation of Gasho Aoyama's classic shonen manga, Yaiba. Samurai Legend has arguably the best animation of spring 2025's action offerings, especially if ONAs like To Be Hero X are not taken into account. Wit Studio has outdone itself, crafting lively visuals that are picture-perfect for both smooth action sequences and slapstick comedy. The story is not half bad either, and it very much has that Saturday morning cartoon feel that defined so many shows during the 90s and early 2000s. Growing up in the jungle and trained relentlessly by his father, Yaiba is not well equipped to handle urban life, which makes him a real handful for pretty much everyone he meets in the city. Admittedly, the eponymous character can be a bit exhausting at times, but his chaotic energy is fun. Gundam is one of the most recognizable names in anime history, but it is also pretty niche. If someone is not into mecha, they are unlikely to give one of these releases a try, especially since it can be intimidating to jump into a new show in a franchise that has been around for decades. The thing is, most Gundam series are just about standalone enough to be watchable without any other context, even if some stuff might be lost in the process. Jiku UX is not, on paper, the most accessible entry. Set in an alternate reality based on the original 1979 anime, this story wonders what would have happened if Zeon won the war. Jiku UX mainly focuses on a group of teenagers who end up with mechas, and they take part in competitive battles and interact with something akin to a rebel group. The world building and narrative backdrop are quite complicated and fairly overwhelming, at least if somebody is not familiar with Mobile Suit Gundam. However, the core story is relatively straightforward, as it mostly just focuses on 3 characters. The animation and action are arguably the best part of Jiku UX. While the writing is decent, it has yet to achieve greatness. My Hero Academia is slowly approaching its end, with Season 8 expected to launch in October 2025. However, the franchise still has plenty of stories to tell, now that the Vigilante spin-off is finally receiving an adaptation. Set a few years before the main manga anime, this series follows a trio of characters who have the drive to make a difference but not the quirks to become traditional pro-heroes. Consequently, they stick to the shadows, alleys, and underground. The anime has only gotten started so far, but it has done a decent job of introducing the core Vigilantes characters, Koichi, Kazuho, and Ueo. While nothing too special, the protagonists are likable and have pretty instant chemistry, with each one fulfilling a natural role in the team. An unexpectedly awesome debut, Sword of the Demon Hunter, Kijin Jintosho could prove to be spring 2025 stealth hit, assuming it remains consistent moving forward. Wisely starting with a long episode, Yokohama Animation Laboratories anime takes viewers back to Japan's Edo period, albeit one that includes demons. The story primarily revolves around Jinta, a human, and Suzune, a demon. These two have been together since they were children, and the latter is very clearly in love with the former. Even when Jinta fell for Shirayuki, Suzune did her best to stay out of their way, hurting herself for their happiness. Unfortunately, she is manipulated by a demon into killing Shirayuki, turning herself into a full-blown villain who wants to destroy the world and Jinta into a revenge-obsessed warrior who wants to destroy her. While not showcasing production value comparable to the best action anime, Sword of the Demon Hunter's fight sequences have been captivating largely thanks to emphasizing swift and vicious moments. Crucially, Jinta's actions, reactions, and motivations are very easy to understand and believe.
前とニコちゃんはこの家で一緒に暮らすことになった。
あのニコと暮らす。
The previous season is not lacking in comedies, but Witch Watch is shaping up to be comfortably spring 2025's funniest show. From the same mind responsible for Sket Dance, this series revolves around Nico, a witch, and Morihito, her ogre familiar. As her bodyguard, the latter's purpose is to keep Nico safe, which is easier said than done due to her habit of acting on impulse. Nico also has a very obvious crush on Morihito, and she hopes to use their present situation to catch the eye of her childhood friend. Although sprinkling in some romantic elements, Witch Watch focuses almost exclusively on comedy. The episodes are divided into short sketches, most of which find Nico using some type of spell to try and impress Morihito. The premise is pretty simple but effortlessly effective, and the two leads are delightful and equally hilarious. The show has only started to introduce important secondary characters, but they have left a decent first impression.
こうして始まった魔女と使い魔の同居生活。
ウィッチウォッチ。
そこに映ってるの私じゃないんです。私記憶がないんです。過去の自分を全く思い出せない。
みんなクーロンに恋をしているんだ。新しいものなんて必要ないんだよ。クジライ、ヒーローは遅れてくるってのがお約束だろ。
2025 has quite a few romances, and most of them are set in high school. However, there are a couple of exceptions that shake things up. The Two Perfect Saint is a decent fantasy option, but the season's best romance anime so far has been Kowloon Generic Romance. Do not be fooled by the title, as this show is shaping up to be anything but generic. While set in the distant future, the anime takes place in Kowloon, a city designed around Hong Kong of old and fueled by nostalgia. Reiko and Hajime work together, and they have a cute but still professional dynamic. However, Reiko discovers an image that suggests they were a couple, which she has no memories of. In fact, she has no memories at all. Kowloon Generic Romance blends romance, mystery, and slice of life pretty well, at least so far. The main duo has an interesting rapport, with their interactions being often playful and occasionally sad. After a relatively lengthy hiatus, Fire Force is back for what should be its final season, one that is building upon a strong foundation set by its predecessors. While far from flawless, Fire Force is a dependable battle shonen that has consistently delivered top-notch animation, intense fights, and strong world building. The story and characters are mostly good too, even if they stick fairly close to the genre and demographics traditions. No longer satisfied with working solely from the shadows, the white-clad cult has stepped into the limelight, opting to recruit and influence a few of the Tokyo Empire's most prominent figures as it marches towards a new cataclysm. Naturally, Force Company 8's members are still 100% against the white-clad, which puts them in danger of being labeled as traitors. Fire Force has kept an intense rhythm throughout the third season, delivering an opening arc that successfully reintroduces the main characters while advancing the story in a way that instantly raises the stakes. A year after making its anime debut, Windbreaker has picked up exactly where it left off, launching instantly into a massive melee between two schools that is just as chaotic and engaging as anything in the first season. Bofurin's first-year students find themselves outnumbered and out-equipped as they take on Keel, a gang that has no issue fighting dirty. Although not the most original anime out there, Windbreaker works due to its relative simplicity, something that Season 2 will hopefully preserve rather than challenge. With well-defined characters, conflicting ideologies between schools' gangs, a likable protagonist who goes on a straightforward but effective arc, and visceral fight sequences that are grounded just enough in legitimate martial arts to avoid slipping into fantasy territory, Windbreaker is just a well-rounded package. One of the must-watch anime of spring 2025, this series balances action, drama, and character growth fantastically. Due to being directed by Shinichiro Watanabe, the mind behind Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo, Lazarus came pre-installed with extremely high expectations, especially since it marks a return to sci-fi action for the filmmaker. The premise is also intriguing. Set in the semi-distant future, Lazarus refers to a special squad tasked with finding Dr. Skinner, who went into hiding after announcing that his super-popular legal drug has a built-in mutation that will kill all of its users 3 years following its ingestion. With only a month left before bodies start to drop, the task force has absolutely no time to waste. Right out of the gate, Lazarus showcases the director's trademarks through its crisp animation, jazz-infused soundtrack, and slippery protagonist, Axel, who has a fighting style that is fairly similar to Cowboy Bebop's Spike. While primarily impressive from a technical perspective, the spring 2025 anime did a good job of setting up the story's hook and introducing the team's areas of expertise early on, only to lose quite a bit of momentum as the season progressed. Lazarus is, for the most part, fine, but it has not amounted to anything more than just that by this point. Typically, donghua are omitted from these discussions as they are essentially a separate industry from anime. However, To Be Hero X deserves to be an exception, as it is not only fantastic but is also being presented as part of the spring 2025 lineup on Crunchyroll. To the uninitiated, donghua are Chinese animation shows, and To Be Hero is an anthology series that debuted in 2016. While set in the same universe, the seasons can mostly be watched in isolation, so newcomers can jump into spring 2025's To Be Hero X without tracking down its predecessors, which are both decent. Just to be clear, while To Be Hero and To Be Heroine are primarily comedies, To Be Hero X is a full-blown action epic that delivers the best fight sequences of the current season. After a superhero named Nice commits suicide, an ordinary guy who happens to look like him is thrust into his costume by the organization that essentially owns the hero's brand. The new Nice initially thrives in the role as he seeks to move up the rankings and eventually become Hero X. However, he ultimately decides to strip away the facade and present his real self to the world. While the CG art style might not be traditional anime, To Be Hero X is gorgeous in pretty much every area. The models look great, the backdrops are jaw-dropping, and the fight sequences are smooth and impactful. The characters are also pretty great, with the protagonist being particularly fascinating.